window in her door, correct?
Well, that was one
So
option, we went to the ring because that was a hell of a lot cheaper, the door, yeah.
Well, I just thought that door is a solid four flush door, you could cut a hole in it and put a piece of glass in there. I mean, wouldn't have to move the jam, wouldn't have to do anything, I mean, you could, I mean,
I'll talk to the judge tomorrow.
it's just something, I mean, if you could put a full view one in there.
I know the issue for that was security when there's juveniles in court. I mean, you could put a curtain over it or something such as that that would be pulled a shade, but that
I'm
was
just
part
throwing
of,
it out there.
but that was part of the discussion when you guys talked about it before was court.
No, okay.
I'll get with the judge and see where that's at. I know it hit this thing with IT, and to me, it sure doesn't seem to be, I mean, it's a one-ring system that feeds three, it's all internet-based, and it feeds three computers, yours.
Yeah, I think there just were lots of options when he went to like Best Buy and started investigating.
Alright, I'll follow up on that. And the rest of it, I think, like I said, we got some stuff for next year. We did sign the contract for the roofing with Taylor, and, he ordered the materials, and he was gonna see what the weather is when it gets here. And I told him there's no rush, if it works better in spring, that's fine too. And the price good, yeah, the price is good, so that one is contracted. And of course, the bathrooms, we're saying that probably the women's will be done, you know, by December 1st. But again, until, you know, all the skeletons reveal themselves, and everything else is gonna show up, so we'll see. But it's going all right now. So, I do keep a diary, I'm the owner's rep on it, so I keep a diary on the activities and the phone calls and the emails and stuff with, the contractor's workers, and then the staff here and whatever, and, nothing earth shattering on that as of right now.
I gotta ask you, so how is it when they cut the concrete, can you actually
was
listen,
delightful.
hear anything?
It was delightful. Fortunately,
Then it's
they
fine,
did
yeah.
the cut, they did all of the tearing apart on, I believe it was Wednesday. They sawed concrete on Thursday, but they were done by noon. And then on Friday, they jackhammered concrete, and I think they were done by between 10 and 11 sometimes. It was awful.
Yeah, I know, I just knew that you're so cool.
I would answer the phone and go, can you hold please?
Yeah, right.
And then I'd go into Kim's office and shut the door and talk. We survived.
Oh, and, the other thing that did happen is, there was a delay on Kim's desktop from that, you know, that office reorganization in there. It didn't, they had the wrong one to start out with, right?
I think they had the wrong one to start with, and then they came and they put the new one in. They probably carried the long section of counter out 5, 6, 8 times. Finally, they just brought the thing in and sanded in the office, got it to fit. It looks very nice.
It was mostly, I mean, it was fine tuning, it wasn't,
Yeah.
cutting with more sand than anything else, so. But that's it for the, town hall business. Okay, please report, chief.
You sure? All right, Mr. Chairman, do you mind if I sit down instead of standing and give my report?
Fine.
Okay, thank you. You all received my report by email on November the 3rd, and I had asked if anyone had any questions, please give me a jingle. That was taken care of. And what I would like to please go over is the speed limit signs in the Troy Hill Estates. Seeing that we put in the stop signs, I feel it's incumbent upon us to put in 2 speed limit signs, one at both entrances to the subdivision. And those speed limit sign posts can be placed in the land it's next to the conservancy part of the subdivision, so that no one would be able to say, you're putting a sign in my front yard. Okay, all we need is one sign on each main entrance, because Town Line Road is 45 miles an hour. And then when you come into the subdivision, it's a nice reminder, just like in other parts of the town, like Miramar, that, okay, the speed limit went from 35, now it's 25. And the cost to do that, when I talked to Todd, he said it was about the same cost. So I wrote down $193.36 for each sign. And of course, it would be a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. And even though we all know that when we took our driver's ed course, 25 is for residential, sometimes people forget, and this will be a reminder, so when they come off the 45, they're going into the residential area for 25.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, I think we should,
Ordinance,
and then we'll have to, put on next month's agenda to authorize Jim for both the speed limit and the, stop signs, both, you need for both, correct?
To add those locations to the ordinance.
Yeah, so, first thing, make a motion.
I make a motion to approve 2 speed limit signs to be installed in Troy Hill Estates at the 2 entrances.
I'll second.
Alright, Chad, second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 0. And then for next month, we'll add to the agenda authorizing Attorney Mills to update the ordinances for the stop signs and speed limit signs at Troy Hill Estates. Okay?
All right, the next item that I would like to bring up is, COVID-19 referral to the police department. I included a memorandum in the paperwork that I gave you that outlined the reasons for that. And I believe that, I use the word statistics, but actually they're facts. They're actual facts that were taken off of all of our records management system as far as the number of calls and also the facts about how many officers have died in the line of duty. In 2019, there were none related to COVID. 2020, there were 248. I'm talking the United States, okay? In 2021, so far this year, as of October 31st, 257. They expect that's going to continue to increase. And now COVID-19 is the #1 killer of cops in the United States. It used to be violent deaths by guns, knives, domestics, car accidents. That's not the case anymore. So what I'm asking is, I'm asking the board to consider, excuse me, I'm asking the board to consider, for lack of a better word, it would be like hazardous pay just for 2019 for the coppers, for the officers. The amount that would be asked for, I'm asking for $1 an hour. But that, of course, is totally dependent upon the board. And the board would either approve it and how much it would be per hour, or not approve it and get nothing. It's totally up to the board. The hazardous pay is actually other departments, first responders, teachers, other essential workers throughout the country have received hazardous pay for working. And that's what I'm asking for. The coppers went to work every day, they did their job. As you know, 2 people in our department in 2020 had COVID, they fully recovered, and it doesn't mean that it still can't happen.
Can I ask, why 2019? I think COVID hit in March of 2020.
You're correct, that's a typo, it should be 2020. I apologize for that, thank you for bringing that to my attention. It should be for 2020,
Okay, and
but it's COVID-19
Right.
for 2020.
for 20,
That's where I'm sure I made the typo, and thank you for bringing that up.
I will say this will be a point of discussion, at our ARPA, well,
Yeah.
it'll be the ARPA meeting, because that's where it would be, and I did notice that in Walworth County, they did, they called it, Lakeland Healthcare Center premiums. The county paid $855,000 there, and then sheriff's office dispatch and corrections premiums, $60,000. So, the county of their ARPA money, they designated $915,000 just for what the chief just mentioned. And they don't call it hazard pay, but other communities have done it, and, other sheriff's departments, they called it hazard pay.
Correct. It actually depends upon the jurisdiction, the verbiage that's used. But it all is the same thing, whether you use hazardous pay, use the acronym that you use. And as you know, the election workers received a bonus for working for 1 day.
Understood.
And if you would take how much that was per hour for 1 day, that's a lot more than $1 an hour.
Understood. Okay,
So that, I'm bringing that to the board's attention for discussion, and I figured that y'all would talk about that at a later time. I didn't think a decision would be made tonight, because it's something to discuss.
absolutely. Okay.
And other than that, I'd like to recognize all the veterans in the room. Hey. There you go. Alrighty. Let's see, and there really is nothing more to discuss. The only press release was the one that I put out, and it had to do with trick or treat. And that was it, you know, letting people know about it, how it's kind of changed over the time. And then Gene caught a error on my part where I forgot to mention the regular trick or treat for the entire township versus just the trick or treat for Miramar.
Yeah,
That's the big one though, everybody goes to that one.
yeah, so as it turned out, were they different dates? How do the
Yes.
dates line up? It was different for the town versus Miramar,
Yes,
and that was also different in the village, right? Or the village?
No, our
No,
town
ours-
one was in conjunction with the village and the town of Troy, but Miramar was on Saturday, I believe, from 4 to 7.
Okay.
And then all of the Troys were, 5 to
5 to
7:30 on Halloween on
Okay.
Sunday.
Okay,
and I appreciate, and publicly I thank her for catching that.
okay, so we're good on that. Any questions on the report? No? Okay,
And,
Yep.
I'm sorry, and also please remember that we have come up with a candidate, so please discuss a date, and I did provide Joe with two dates that that the person is available for, if you want him to appear to talk with.
And on the last part-time one, I'm assuming, there's a whole vetting process, and that is when the psych evaluation and all of that kind of stuff is done, right?
That's a multifaceted question. It would take a bit, you want me to explain how that works?
Well, I guess just, do we do the psych evaluation? I would thought it was
well, the
maybe.
part-time has
Yes or
got
no?
different rules than the full-time, so why don't you just go ahead?
You want me to explain it?
Sure.
Okay. Part-time officers not considered primary employment. Okay, primary employment means that we hire them as the primary officer.
Right.
Part-time officers can come to you as primary employment or secondary employment. People who come to you with secondary employment do not need psych evaluations, but they do need the pre-employment physical, and they do need the drug and alcohol test. All right, and then the background, that's done as well. People who are primary part-time get the same thing I just mentioned with this exception. They're to have a psychological evaluation, but it doesn't have to be face-to-face. It can be done with that 500 question questionnaire that they fill out, and then based upon that questionnaire, the psychiatrist, the psychologist determines whether or not they're suitable for law enforcement. Okay, now for full-time employment, the person needs the full background, like I mentioned, they need the drug and alcohol, they need a face-to-face psychological, but because of COVID, face-to-face can be via, like a Zoom, can be done that way.
And a physical exam.
Yes, the pre-employment physical. So when a person is given a conditional offer, in the conditional offer, in the third paragraph from the bottom, it lists all of those things that they have to meet in order to be hired. And if they don't meet one of those requirements, then they don't get it. That's how that works.
Thank you.
No
And the
problem.
status of the part-time person,
The part-time person started field training,
started field training already?
yes.
Good to go. Okay, and then, the full-time we're gonna talk about, that's when we're gonna discuss if we can have a meeting 11th or 12th, which I believe is Thursday and Friday this week. So we'll be discussing that in future meetings, so, and I'll probably the evening one too, I think, if he's available.
Yes, he's off he would be off at those 2 dates, he's off of work.
Okay.
I can't say what time, but we had discussed evenings, because in the past, you all have held your meetings on weeknights in the evening. Yeah, that's the only reason I brought up evenings.
And likely what, you know, jobs and whatever, you know, I was gonna probably do that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, anything else? You good?
No, sir, now I'm,
Okay, thank you very much.
yes, sir.
Okay, East Troy Emergency Services, District Report, one thing was listed was snow plowing by towns, DPW, was there any further discussion on that, Todd?
No, there hasn't been, just me and Jason from the village. Should trading years for, salting it, they're gonna still, to have us go and plow it is actually more than what they pay benchmark. It would cost them more,
Gotcha.
so we told them, we would do the salting in the parking lot after it's plowed.
Okay, just run through there, so.
Yep.
Alright, well, we'll probably hit that again next month. I did talk to Barb this morning before she headed back down to Illinois, and there was going to be an East Troy Area Emergency Services District monthly meeting this week. I thought it was the 11th, but, they moved their meeting a week, so I wouldn't have to cover that one this week, so I should not interfere with this other one with the police officer either. So no other report there. Park committee report?
Nothing other than, I think all of us were at the dedication for the pavilion, it turned out decent weather, it was sunny, yeah. Good turnout, and that was it. I think soccer is probably winding down, right, Todd?
Yeah, I seen them out there last week still practicing.
But
so-
probably not much more
No, I
cutting
wouldn't think
or
so.
anything back there.
Yeah.
And they will remove the porta potty, cause they're paying for it, right?
Yeah, they actually ordered that for
Yeah.
delivery and pickup?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Booth Lake Memorial Park report?
Not a whole lot, we're just looking into the centennial for next year, for the park, and, there was some concrete, some steps that were replaced, and some hand railing going up to the pavilion, and the steps were in pretty rough shape, so they had those replaced, but other than that,
I seen the picture of the concrete.
Yeah.
pad, so we got that.
no, it's some nice improvement, so.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Lake Beulah Management District report, anything?
I have nothing new to report, we haven't met since the last town board meeting.
Okay.
We're scheduled to meet next Tuesday, 5:30.
Okay. All right, recycling committee report?
Nothing really new right now. And,
All right, and library, anything?
yes, library, there's a couple of, notes here from Christina Murphy, who's, president of the library board. Number one, library director Jeff Gartman has tendered his resignation effective March 31st, 2022. And, the second item here, which is kind of nice, 259 children and teens and adults participated in the 2021 summer reading program. So, you know, there was some nice activity with that. And that's about it, I think, for this report.
All right, yep, Jeff will be, definitely missed, but,
Yes, he will.
you have any reasons to do it at this time? All good. I hope he's around long enough that we can see through the initial deal with the,
Yeah.
our joint library agreement.
Yeah, it's gonna be really missed.
Yeah, he was excellent.
Yes.
Dedicated. Yeah, definitely. Okay, communications committee, anything new or we?
No, that's pending budget decisions.
All right, plan commission report?
Yeah, I do have a report. I mean, we had a meeting on, hearing meeting on the 3rd of October. And then at that meeting, because it was kind of a straightforward decision, we just approved it then and there. So I'll just read what I have. It says, on October 3rd, the planning commission heard and unanimously approved a petition for a conditional use permit from owner Deborah Jansen on behalf of her daughter, Carlene Sager, to operate a yoga studio for Carlene and 2 employees. Property is presently zoned A2 agricultural and is located at W1032 County Road J, tax key number PET 300001D. As written in the county zoning book, a primary use of an A2 zone property allows for minor home occupation and or professional office. However, the planning commission did stipulate that any increase in the number of employees would require an amendment to the conditional use permit. Because of the innocent nature of yoga itself and its location, the decision was easy. I therefore recommend the board to follow suit with the planning commission's decision to approve Deborah Jensen's conditional use permit.
All right, point of order, we don't have that listed as an action item,
Can't take that.
so we can't
Okay.
take action, but, I think if we do end up with a meeting on, Thursday or Friday, we could notice that. So get the details, probably, you know,
Leslie one too,
yeah.
but I have.
That was the only item?
Everything here if you don't.
Is that the only item acted on? That
Yeah, it was the one and only.
Okay, let's do that for Thursday or Friday. Okay, anything else to report?